Q. We were all inspired by Tunisia in 2011, where a simple merchant vegetable seller started an Arab Spring. We all want to see all of the elements of democracy adhered to. But we are also cautioned by the success on occasion of the Muslim Brotherhood, which believes in one person. Actually, they probably just believe in one man, one vote, one time. And it's important that as we coax Tunisia toward the full rule of law and constitutional principles, that we remember that that the Muslim Brotherhood does indeed lurk, and while they are willing to use democratic methods to take power, they are not willing to cede power. I was unable, for technical reasons, to hear one of our witnesses, Dr. Eli A. So I read his testimony, and he said, in part, and those of you with the same technical issues may not have heard this, some have advocated for the removal of President Said, but that would only embolden the Ennahda party and the Muslim Brotherhood, as well as remnant forces of the old regime, which has its own dangers and implications. That may explain why the Biden administration has not labeled this as a coup, has not cut our relationship with Tunisia. It is easy to say that if there is any departure from exactly the way we'd like to run things, that we slam the table and we show how strong we are. But I think our witness from the Institute of Peace shows that strength without wisdom, while occasionally describing American policy, is not the policy that the Biden administration has pursued or should pursue. Mr. Acevedo reminds us that Tunisia has been a source of Islamic terrorists. We've talked about even how they get to Afghanistan. The UN said 5,800 were there just half a decade ago, and fighting for the Islamic State, rather, not necessarily in Afghanistan, more in Syria and Iraq. And of course, these people have mostly gone back. So as we work for all of the democracy that we'd like to see, we certainly don't want to see those forces. It's interesting that President Said is a constitutional lawyer. He has invoked Article 80. I don't know if he wrote it, which allows the president to take pretty much the measures he's taken if there's an imminent threat against the country's security and independence. Of course, that envisions a constitutional court that would oversee that process. Of course, for 7 years prior to Said and under his opponents, they failed to form the constitutional court. The article also requires that the president guarantee as soon as possible a return to normal functioning of state institutions. So, Mr. Acevedo, some of the Tunisian Americans in my district have talked to me, and they envision that they'd be a plebiscite for a new constitution. This would, in a way, be a plebiscite on President Said, but they would envision a constitution more of a modeled after that of the United States than out of France, with a strong president rather than a prime minister parliament system. It's hard to say that any system of government is undemocratic if it's modeled after ours. Had I been at the Constitutional Convention, I would have proposed a parliamentary system, but then again, I would have been wearing a wig, and that would have been a benefit as well. So, Mr. Acevedo, what do you know about the possibility of a plebiscite on a constitution that reflects President Said's desire for more of a presidential system?
Thank you, Congressman. I think you hit a really good point, which is the question that I would ask, which is what is it that President Zayed and where does he want to go from here? And that is what we're missing in this equation.
Hmm.
I think from my standpoint, you know, we need the president to articulate a plan that is inclusive, a plan that does not exclude the 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 political parties, and we need to ensure that during the reconciliation process, he's talking to those who may support him and those who may oppose him. Right? That's part of the democratic process. And I think it's also important to note that the messages that we should be sending from the U.S. Obviously, President Zayed is an important factor, but there is a whole political class in Tunisia that goes far beyond just one individual. And I just have to reiterate how important this hearing is because I think the more we shine a spotlight on what's going on from Tunisia, and especially the parliamentarian issue. Of course, the U.S. Congress speaking about a parliamentarian issue in another country really sent a very strong message. So, you know, even after this hearing, I look forward to working with all of you to continue that pressure because I think it is very needed to help the Tunisian people.
Democracy, yes. Brotherhood, no. I yield back.